Hey animators, it's been such a long time between this video and the last one. But I haven't just been sitting there twiddling my thumbs. I've been super busy building stuff in the background that I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit later, and I'm so excited. But today, we're going to be following and talking about Rokoko. Specifically, motion capture and how it can fit into your pipelines and your solutions. It's because, look, see, here's the thing. Motion capture is one of those things that they look great in a demo, but when you use them in a real production environment, they tend to fall apart. As a lead animator, I've worked with various motion capture solutions and I've implemented real mocap pipelines in various studios, and I've shipped major titles that are worth millions of pounds under real pressure, real deadlines, and with real budgets. So in today's video, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to break down specifically where Rokoko fits in, where it struggles, and how you can use it properly to get production-ready results for you and your projects, and giving you the professional opinion of someone who's worked in animation and games and used motion capture for over a decade. So, without further ado, let's begin. And now for those of you who don't know me, I'm Rodgers-Blake. I'm a lead animator in games, and I'm an international animation consultant, and I've been helping animators land high-profile roles in games, movies, and television for the last 5 years. And I've done so through my consultancy business, the Advanced Animation Academy. And I've worked across AAA games, short films, mobile games, and solo development projects. So I've seen motion capture used properly in real productions of all sizes and all scales. And I've also seen it used properly, and I've also seen how it can slow teams down and cost them some serious cash. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be sharing with you my expertise about how you can use solutions such as Rokoko to potentially enhance your projects, or if it's even suitable for you in the first place. I think it's only fair that we talk about what Rokoko does well. And for me personally, I think where Rokoko really stands out is its accessibility. Rokoko is an inertia-based mocap system, and by using that, you have to concede to the fact that you're not dealing with a full studio setup. And what that means is that you shouldn't expect that level of accuracy, but what you should expect is that you can get something that's going to give you good results and you can get up and running pretty quickly. And see, the thing is, that in itself is huge. I'll explain why. Because if you're someone like a solo developer or you're working within a small team, it can be an inexpensive endeavor in comparison to basically the full cost of development. And in development, time is money. That's just the bottom line, that's what it is. And mocap systems like Rokoko are portable, they're flexible, and it doesn't lock you into a specific space where you need to deal with things that could otherwise end up racking up the cost very quickly. So you can use it for things like previs, blocking, and prototyping. I think that's where Rokoko is going to excel. And like with all mocap solutions, especially using an inertia-based system, it requires that you understand the fundamentals of motion capture. Otherwise, you can go in there, record a bunch of stuff, and what you're going to get out is, quite frankly, crap. But if you have a good solid foundation of understanding how to use mocap solutions in the first place, just like general best rules and practices, you're going to be good to go. Another thing that Rokoko does quite well is that its capture and export pipeline is actually pretty straightforward and user-friendly. Going from recording to actually using something like an FBX or BVH, or no one really uses BVHs anymore, right? Whatever you want is pretty much there. It's straightforward, it's easy to use, and there's basically no friction. And I think that's literally the things that Rokoko excels at in comparison to other mocap solutions. And a lot of this kind of stuff that I'm talking about is really just inherent with inertia-based mocap solutions. But I think where Rokoko stands out specifically is that everything is packaged, everything is neatly tied together in a bow, and it's really easy to set up and just get going right out of the box. Now that I've covered what Rokoko does well, I'm actually gonna go over some things that some videos just simply won't tell you. When you bring solutions like Rokoko into your actual workflow, you need to be aware of some things before you commit to buying. You can encounter such things such as stability issues and drift, especially when you're doing longer takes and you're recording locomotion. In my experience with the kit, I found that it performs best really when you're standing around and you're recording idles and emotes and things of that nature. But the quality of capture has dropped when recording locomotion. The main issue that I found was drift. Like, what this means is that in your final output, in your 3D space, you'll notice that your character will shift a small amount. It's only small, but it's noticeable when you're doing longer recordings, and you need to correct that in the animation itself. And here's the thing. There's a lot of things that can contribute to this, so such as how good is your connection, what type of environment are you in, is there like a lot of metal around, like are there pipes and stuff running through the walls and the floors, because that can impact the quality of the data. Now, this isn't necessarily a Rokoko issue per se, but it's something to do with the general issues of using inertia mocap systems. And even if you have a perfect setup, you may encounter some of these problems because you can't control the fact that there's plumbing going through the floor, or that there's magnetic frequencies that are interfering with the sensors that are preventing you from having a 10 out of 10 connection. So what I've often found is that even when I had a dedicated Wi-Fi router, I still had some issues and I still had to do quite a bit of cleanup in order to get results that I was personally happy with. But there's also something I need to say as well, like you need a small caveat, is that you need to make sure that you have good discipline when using an inertia-based mocap system. So such as making your take shorter, make sure that you always start and ending off in a T-pose, things like that, so that when you're actually exporting it and you're taking your clips out, it's very easy for you to understand exactly where you need to cut. And the better that you plan, the more focused your takes are going to be, the shorter your takes are going to be, and that's going to prevent drifting. So the final result that you can get is really going to be a combination of three factors: your environment, your capture discipline, your technical ability to retarget and preserve the nuances within the performance itself. If you can ensure that you've got these three things, then you're generally going to have a good capture when using Rokoko as a motion capture solution. Now, you just need to understand that there are inherent limitations and inherent inaccuracies when using inertia-based systems in comparison to a full production suite. So that then leads us to ask one simple question: where does it fit in production? So for me personally, Rokoko is best suited for, I would say, smaller teams and solo developers. Like, I personally wouldn't use it in a AAA production. And let me be crystal clear here. That's not because Rokoko as a mocap solution itself is bad. Not at all. It's actually quite good. But because of the nature of inertia mocap systems in general. Like, at that level, you have the budget to invest in more accurate solutions like a full-scale optical mocap solution. Because if we were to bring it into a AAA production, it would best serve you, or rather it would best serve me when I'm prototyping animations, and so that I can hand off to designers so that they can implement it right away, so that we can get a good idea of the character's movement, look, feel, all that good stuff. So I would use it in early stages. Now, I do have a small caveat though. There is the Rokoko Coil Pro, that I haven't used and I don't have access to at the moment, which is said to improve the accuracy, but I can't talk specifically about how much or how little or how effective or ineffective that actually is, because I haven't used the technology, I haven't used the addition to be able to check and make that direct comparison. So if you're somebody that you've used Rokoko before, I would love to know what your experience is in the comment section below. Let me know if you have the Coil Pro, and let me know if that's made a difference for you. If I do manage to get my hands on it, I will do a comparison and let you know whether that additional investment is actually worth it or not. Generally, if I was to wrap things up in a nice, neat little bubble, quite plainly, if I was working in a AAA top-end VFX studio or a AAA game, I wouldn't use Rokoko as my main solution for motion capture. I would use it in my initial phases, such as, blocking things out, iterating really quickly, trying out quick ideas and passing them off to designers to implement within the game quickly so that they can edit it and then tell my team and my animators whether this is a good idea and whether it's going to work or not. So basically something that we can churn out very quickly so that it becomes a very small investment in terms of time. And in terms of the investment for a big production like that, it's really inexpensive in comparison to the full cost of a full development, whether that's a large-scale movie or a AAA game. The cost of the investment, rather, for something like Rokoko is relatively small in comparison. But for a solo developer, that isn't necessarily the case, because when you're investing thousands of pounds in something, you want to have the best solution that's going to be able to work for you and your projects. And I just need to reiterate this and make this crystal clear. Rokoko isn't a bad solution. Like, I have it right here, I've used it, I've actually taught a motion capture course with it, and I've gotten amazing results. But if I was to say oh, let's go to, a AAA high-end production studio, I wouldn't be using that. I would use an optical motion capture system that's gonna give me the most accuracy, even though it's more expensive. That'll be my personal and professional recommendation. But for something like a smaller project or an indie team, I think something like Rokoko could work well for you, but you just need to bear in mind some of the limitations with the locomotion capture and things such as the drift. If you don't have the Coil Pro, then it could be a little bit of an issue. However, I'm not the best person to tell you the full-on benefits of it just yet. When I get my hands on it, I'll happily make that breakdown, share that with you, and just let you straight up know whether it's worth it or not. So all in all, is Rokoko worth it? My straight up answer is it depends on your use case. If you're a solo developer or you're working within a small team and you need speed, iteration, and flexibility, then Rokoko right here, this solution is a very powerful tool, and I would highly recommend it because you're going to get a good level of accuracy. I would say you're probably going to get across the board, maybe between a 6 to a 7 out of 10, and it's going to serve you well in most use cases. However, if you are a AAA studio or a AA studio, or you're operating at that level where you have millions of pounds in your budget, then you really want to be looking at more advanced solutions. And just to be crystal clear and transparent, this video is sponsored by Rokoko, and I've been encouraged to give you my genuine thoughts and experiences because that's actually what helps them improve their products and their services. So when you use a solution like Rokoko properly, so you have good fundamentals, good discipline, and a good understanding of motion capture workflows and pipelines, this tool can save you a lot of time, especially when it's used properly. It can be a very good solution for most use cases, but when it's used poorly, it will simply just create you more work. Now, in terms of value, Rokoko as a mocap system is a great example of you get what you pay for. All in, Rokoko is going to run you about maybe 5 to 6K. I know that they've got some discounts when it comes to individual indie devs. So it can be expensive for an individual, even though you get a major discount. But if I'm going to give you a bit of another perspective, you can save hundreds of hours because you've invested in a tool. Would it be worth it to you? If you were able to set up a mobile mocap studio that you can use as a single individual developer, and you can begin to basically make another income stream based upon it, then is that something that'd be worth it to you? Is investing thousands to be able to make money over time a worthwhile investment? Me personally, I would say yes, and I would happily invest in it if I was a solo developer wanting to use like motion capture technology to improve my services, or if I was an animator that wanted to be able to have that tool and that technology to be more of an asset to a small team and studio that I'm working with, I would absolutely do so. I would try to potentially be sponsored for it, and the reason why is because it is, for an individual, a significant investment, but you just need to bear in mind what your budget is, what your capacity is, and what the level of the project that you're working on is really and truly. That's really what it is. So when I look at solutions like Rokoko, I look at it as an investment in your career, projects, and skill set. So the real question is, do you think it's a worthwhile investment? My straight up answer would be yes, but I'm going to give you one small caveat. If you're a solo dev and you want to like mess around with mocap technology, then I wouldn't recommend it because you could invest in excess of 5 grand just to play around. I would only invest in this solution if you're serious and you want to use it across multiple projects as a freelancer or produce services as a remote mocap actor. Otherwise, it's basically just an expensive toy. For a team, I could only recommend Rokoko if you fall under these categories. 1, if you're a small team with a very limited budget. 2, rapid iteration is more important to your project than capture quality and accuracy. And 3, you're willing to deal with the inherent issues of inertia mocap solutions. If you can say yes to 3 of these categories, then as far as I'm concerned, you're good to go, and I would recommend it. Where I won't recommend it is if you fall into the following categories. 1, if you're going to be capturing locomotion and you need a lot of it. 2, if you're capturing large scenes and you need to have longer takes or complex motion, then I wouldn't recommend it. And 3, if your team is like AA or AAA size in terms of team size and budget, then I wouldn't recommend it. And lastly, if you need top quality performance, so such as props, detailed facial tracking, etc. Now you got facial tracking, but in terms of the top level, top echelon of accuracy, then I wouldn't recommend it. But what you can achieve with Rokoko is going to be good, like basically 7 times out of 10. But there's going to be specific circumstances where it's not going to be the best thing that's going to serve you and your studios, or you and your project. And I would probably recommend other solutions in that case. So you see, there's a lot of mystery surrounding motion capture, not just the technology itself, but how to actually plan, direct, and run motion capture shoots in real production environments. So if you're an ambitious animator who wants to take their skills to the next level, become an invaluable asset to studios, and open up new ways of generating income, then I've got something special for you. I've spent the last decade mastering these skills so that you don't have to figure it out the hard way. I've packaged everything that I've learned into a comprehensive motion capture mastery course. And this course is designed to take you from zero knowledge to being able to confidently plan, direct, and extract the best performances from your motion capture shoots. Everything inside the program is based on real production experiences working across games and animation over the last decade. So you're learning the full pipeline from start to finish, along with the best practices used by professional animators, so you can become a true asset to any production environment. Now, if that sounds like something that you're serious about, I've linked it in the description below. Just click the link below, check it out, and level up your skill set. So animators, if you found this useful and you want more content around real animation workflows, motion capture, and production level insights, then feel free to subscribe. And if you have any questions or if you've used Rokoko yourself, drop them in the comments below. I would love to hear about your experiences. I appreciate you watching. I'm Rodgers-Blake. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one. So until then, take it easy. Peace.